Greece has said it will accelerate austerity measures pledged in return for international financing as pressure has mounted from European partners before the payment of a sixth tranche of bailout loans. Finance Minister Vangelos Venizelos has said that Greece can overcome its financial woes by enforcing reforms agreed with its international lenders. To discuss the course of developments regarding the Greek debt crisis, we are joined on the line by Fredrik Eriksson, the director of the European Centre for International Political Economy. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. According to research by analysts at Swiss Investment Bank, Greece or Portugal will lose up to 50% of their national income if they quit the euro. Do you agree with this assessment?
Basically, yes. I mean, the figure could be a little bit bigger, it could be a little bit smaller, but the main point is that if Greece, Portugal, or any other of the weaker economies in Europe were going to be dismembered from the Eurozone, we would see a huge appreciation of the stock of private loans that people in Greece and elsewhere have taken up, and that would have an enormously strong push downwards on Greek GDP and on the income and welfare of citizens. So it's basically correct to say it's going to be a huge cost to leave the Eurozone.
Now, within the European financial community, there are those who believe that a country cannot exit the Eurozone, while others say that it can be done. Now, what is the case?
The legality of it is a bit ambiguous, and I don't think anyone can say with confidence exactly what the rules are saying. But to put it simply, if one country wants to leave the Eurozone, it's probably possible to arrange for it. If another country wants to kick out a country, then I think it's going to be much more difficult to do it. At the end of the day, I think it depends on the willingness of the country that will leave, if that's going to happen or not.
What would the exit of Greece from the Eurozone mean for the rest of the members?
The biggest effect is going to come from probably the default that will happen if Greece is going to leave Euro. So that basically means that not only the Greek government but also Greek businesses and Greek private individuals will not be able to repay the loans that they have taken up in the currency Euro. And that basically means that they're going to fail on the loans. And if Greece were going to leave the Eurozone, a big part of the stock of credit is going to fail, and that's going to have a very strong effect on the stability of the European financial sector. And I think that's going to be the main effect, that we will see a very strong weakening of the stability of the European banking sector if that was going to happen. And of course, that would happen at a point where European banks are already pretty unstable in the sense that they haven't recapitalized to the degree that they should have during the recovery from the crisis.
Does default necessarily mean exit from the Eurozone?
Not necessarily. I mean, default can mean many different things. In the package that was agreed in July in Brussels for the second Greek bailout, we're already talking about what people call a selective default, which basically means that the bond swaps that are going to happen will, in the eyes of the credit rating agencies, put Greece in a default. But it's an orderly default. It's a solution which has been negotiated between the debtors and the creditors. So I think that's a good thing. The problem is if we're going to move towards a disorderly default, more or less like a bankruptcy of a country, that would be the really, really ugly, nasty part of a default.
Most people in Greece believe that the country is in a death spiral. Targets have not been met, the real economy is in recession, there's more austerity, higher unemployment. I mean, I can go on and on. Where is this leading to?
I mean, if we're going to continue along the same track, we're going to see a worsening situation for Greece. I think it was Albert Einstein that defined insanity by saying that you keep on repeating, doing the same thing all over again, and believing that the result is going to be different. And I think that's where we are in Greece right now. The two big problems in Greece right now is that, firstly, we need to deal with the debt structure problem in Greece, and debt is too big for Greece to repay it, so we need to restructure debt. The other problem is that Greece needs to kickstart its economy to get economic growth moving again, and that's not going to happen if we're going to see new continuous austerity package being pushed through at the same time as the Greek government unable to basically structurally reform the economy to the degree it needs to do for long-term sustainable economic growth to be possible.
Have these two options been included in the strategy implemented by the international lenders and the country, the government of Greece?
Not really, certainly not the first point on debt restructuring. I mean, that's what the IMF, the ECB, and the European Union have been trying to avoid. On economic growth, I mean, that's what is the hope of the lenders, that the conditions they attach to these packages are going to push for economic growth. But in my view, these conditions are far too much focused on fiscal balance and far too less focused on structurally reforming the Greek economy to get long-term sustainable economic growth to pick up.
And the reasons behind this lack of option in the implementation program?
Best to put it like this. I mean, when someone, in this case the EU and the IMF, lend someone else money, what they want to be assured of is that the lender is going to repay the money when matures. So, I mean, that's why they're always looking at different sort of fiscal stability conditions when they do these sort of packages. Economic growth and structural economic reforms tend to be sometimes an added extra to these packages. My point is that this now needs to be put front and center in any sort of attempt by the European Union and others to address the worsened situation in Greece. Economic growth needs to be number one priority now.